Hey guys! How's everyone doing tonight? Or day? Wherever you guys are at? I don't know. I know I'm doing pretty good right now for the most part. But anyways, greetings creatures and humans alike. I am MagiQDog, and tonight, on this Creature of the Week, we are going to be learning about... We're scribbling. Scribble. Aha! Let me put my wings away. That way I can introduce you guys to the Gorgon. Yeah, we're going back to Greek mythology on this one. And this is going to be quite an interesting discussion. Because after all, Gorgons aren't really technically a species. But we can't just pretend otherwise. Anyways, let's get started with this. Oh, right, I always do that every time. Anyways. The Gorgons are terrifying, stone-piercing female creatures told in Greek mythology. Appearance. In Greek mythology, the Gorgons are told as horrifying and monstrous female creatures. They always take the shape of a humanoid form, and all Gorgons are female. The most obvious body part is the hair that are hissing snakes, which is one of the most famous attributes. Then comes the eyes, which in Greek art appears as green and yellow color eyes similar to humans, which is just as famous as their hair. They would have fanged mouths with boar-like tusks coming out, their tongues mainly sticking out. They would have a round face with a flat nose. Their skin is said to be scaly like a snake. Their hands and feet are bronze and ends with sharp claws. They would even have wings on their backs or around their ankles on their feet. Then there's also... Oh, wait, sorry. These versions of the Gorgons makes them a scary sight to behold. However, later depiction in artworks makes the Gorgons more human-like, to the point where they are considered beautiful, but still retain the snake hair and Gorgon eyes. Whatever version they take, the Gorgons are still a creature you don't want to see directly. Right there you go. Roles in mythology. Gorgons are feared among the Greek people as one of the most terrifying creatures to encounter. In traditional stories, the Gorgons were said to be the daughters of Echidna and Typhon, being one of the many monstrous children alongside the Hydra, Nemean Lion, Cerberus, and so on, or as the daughters of Ceto and, this is where my pronunciation issue comes into play, Phorcys, or Phorcys. Phorcys? Phorcys. You'll see. Anyways, in other accounts. Because of this, there was only said to be the Gorgons, Stheno Euryale. However, the most infamous of the three sisters, Medusa herself, was born as a human. Her becoming a Gorgon is completely different through a divine punishment, which I'll speak of later. In Greek mythology, there was only Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale as the Gorgons, and was said to live on the island of Poseidon, or, man, I am always butchering these names wrong. I do apologize in advance for that. But anyways, they were born on a certain island, where many hunters, soldiers, and heroes met their end. This is because of the Gorgon's unique power of turning people who meet their gaze into stone, which is why they were so horrifying in the first place. Lastly, the Gorgons were said to be immortal, except for Medusa, which led to the famous story of Perseus after he was able to slay Medusa's head and took off with it. I'll explain the story later on. However, I do want to mention that Gorgons aren't truly evil entities. Medusa herself was considered more of a victim in her story with her curse. And Greeks, and also Romans, have often used Gorgons as a protective symbol to defend against evil spirits and bad luck, since their gazes can affect even them. Powers. The Gorgons' powers are feared greatly among the bravest of soldiers and warriors, and rightfully so. The Gorgons are considered superhumanoid beings with enhanced physical abilities. Hang on, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Anyways, these physical abilities include enhanced strength, stealth, durability, and even senses. Their hairs of snake can deliver deadly bites. Some have wings which can allow them to fly. Well, they have wings which can allow them to fly, which in turn can allow them to attack with their brass claws that can rip you to shred or bite you with their tusked mouth. Some tales stated that their blood contains magical powers, with the right side having healing properties and being able to bring people back from the dead, but the left side is very poisonous and would kill a full-grown man. It's also told that Gorgons, mainly Stheno and Euryale, are immortal and cannot be killed. However, the most dangerous power and their most famous ability is the power to petrify anyone that they meet their gaze and turn them into stone. These powers truly make the Gorgons just as fierce as they are terrifying. Weaknesses. However, like any other mythical creature, Gorgons too have weaknesses one can use and even methods on how to kill one. The main weakness of the Gorgon is a method of detecting them without seeing them directly. Perseus was gifted a special shield by Athena, which can reflect like a mirror. He used it to see the Gorgons without turning to stone and allow him to creep up to deliver a deadly blow. This story tells us that Gorgons can be seen by using reflective items, so shields and mirrors can work against them. Now, as for killing them, Perseus was given a special sword, by Zeus? Okay, I'll go along with it. By Zeus, that contains magical powers. As such, having a magical weapon, especially gifted by the gods, can easily get through a Gorgon's scaly skin and can kill him. But you have to kill him at the neck area. In other words, decapitation! If y'all know the meme I'm talking about, good on you. Anyways, for real though, around the neck and cutting off the head is the main way to kill him. So yeah, there are ways to kill a regular Gorgon. However, if you happen to come across the immortal sister ones, the best way to beat them is to simply run away, avoid their gaze, and escape. Gorgons versus Lamia and Echidna. Gorgons have become infamous due to being dangerous female creatures with serpentine features. However, Greek mythology has other mythical female monsters with snake features on them. Other than the Gorgons, you also have both the Lamia and the Echidna. The Lamia was once the queen of Libel. Limna. I bet. Anyways, she was the queen of that, and she was the daughter of Poseidon, until Zeus had an affair with her. Hera, infuriated with Lamia, took her children, and in her grief transformed into a half-serpentine demoness that became a child eater. She's always depicted as a beautiful woman from the upper up. You know, like from head to the body and stuff, arms, all that kind of stuff. But then she always has a serpent body from the lower half. Kind of reminds me of the Nagas from Hindu mythology. But moving on to the other one, Echidna is described as a mother of monsters, who sire many Greek infamous creatures along with Typhon. She was described similar to Lamia, except in some accounts she is told with draconic or bird-like wings, and her snake tail split into two. Now that we learned about these three serpent ladies, you're wondering why I brought this up. Well, that's because it's fascinating to me about how we have the same mythology that describe three separate kinds of creatures, yet they share similarities with one another. With the three being told as dangerous man-killing female creatures with serpentine features and body parts. Yet each three has different roles, stories, and powers and weaknesses told from each one. It's amazing how serpent and females in general are used by the Greeks to create terrifying beings. And for those of you that are watching this that happens to be feminist, I do apologize and stuff, but don't blame me, blame the Greeks. Anyways, myth versus modern misconceptions. The Gorgons are among one of the most famous kind of Greek mythical creatures, if not one of the most iconic mythical creatures in general. And their tales have reached up to modern times as they are portrayed in movies, TV series, books, games, and so on. And while the Gorgons are mainly told somewhat the same as their Greek myths, they too unfortunately are victims of modern misconceptions thanks to movies and games and so on. Just like vampires, werewolves, and other mythical creatures that I've told before on my Creature of the Week streams, which you guys should totally check out by the way. Gorgons too have some of their facts mixed up, or facts fabricated by media in order to tell of a more terrifying being, or a more pitiful creature. One of these misconceptions is that some, like D&D, have made you believe that the Gorgons can petrify themselves by seeing their own reflections. However, this is completely false. The Gorgons, mainly Medusa herself, are not affected by their petrification power whenever they see any reflection, like mirrors or water. This is due to them either being immortal, or the gods preventing them from ending their curse of isolation and horrifying appearance. Secondly, there's the fact that many Gorgons of modern media have them appear as half human and half snake, like the Lamia or Naga. But this is not the case in Greek mythology. Most portrayals in Greek art have them appear as humanoids with snake hair and wings, as I mentioned before. The misconception of Gorgon, of the half snake like Gorgons, oh my goodness, I butchered this. Take two. Beep. The misconception of Gorgons like Medusa as being half snake and half human may have come from the 1981 movie Clash of the Titan. Other misconceptions also include: number 1, Medusa was the only Gorgon, while in fact she had 2 other sisters, so there were technically 3. Number 2, Gorgons were mortals that could be killed, when in fact only Medusa was mortal, while her sisters wasn't. Number 3, Medusa was a monster from birth, when she was actually cursed, which I'll get into later. And there were a few other misconceptions as well. So as you can see, Gorgons and Medusa too have false claims compared to their mythological parts. And while these misconceptions are just used as a story tool for whatever media uses them, we must remember the actual facts of these creatures from mythology. Could there be more? More existence. Could more exist? Oh my goodness gracious. Anyways, within the Greek beliefs, the Gorgons have always been told of the trio of Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale, with Medusa being the most famous of the sisters. And this stayed true throughout not just Greek, but also in Roman as well. However, what if I told you that there might be a possibility of having more than the 3 Gorgons? Now, I'm sure you're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Well, I have this theory about how Gorgons could exist as a species instead of them being a limited group of infamous beings. And this idea is based on the fact of Medusa herself existing. Let me explain. Stheno and Euryale was born as immortal Gorgons from Ceto and Phorcys, or Phorcys, or Phorcy. There you go. Or from Echidna and Typhon. But Medusa was born as a beautiful mortal woman who was also a virgin priest to Athena. However, after Poseidon has his ways with Medusa at Athena's temple, Athena became angry with Medusa and transformed her into a Gorgon as she grew snake hair and gained the Gorgon eyes. This forced her to leave and meet the other Gorgons who accepted her and made her their own fellow sister. Now this story is kind of sad, true, but the story also reveals a way for other Gorgons to come to existence. Basically what I'm saying, it turns out that the Gorgons, like Medusa, can be born from a punished human or humanoid who is cursed by the Greek gods like Athena. The very fact that Medusa became a Gorgon through a god's punishment proves that more Gorgons can exist. But it seems that a certain requirement must be met for a person to become a Gorgon. First, the person might have to be attractive enough, as the case of Medusa, who was very beautiful. Secondly, they must incur the wrath of a Greek god that's related to their beauty. In Medusa's case, being forced on within Athena's temple would kind of piss her off, even though it wasn't her fault. Like, seriously, it was not her fault at all. And lastly, the gods must use their divinity to curse you and turn you into a Gorgon. And seeing how the Greek gods are basically assholes time to time, I wouldn't be surprised if there were other Gorgons like Medusa out there. Medusa and her sisters. Oh man, I butchered that up. So I'm sure everyone is waiting for me to tell the story of the Gorgons and Medusa. So here we go! Medusa was once a beautiful priestess of the goddess Athena at her temple. However, her beauty attracted Poseidon's attention, and he, trying not to get banned here, had his way with her at her temple. Athena, seeing her temple defiled, and instead of being angry at Poseidon, she turned her wrath on Medusa. She punished her by transforming Medusa into a Gorgon. She was banished from the temple and society and fled to the island, where she met her fellow sisters Stheno and Euryale, who accepted her instantly. For many years, the three sisters guarded their home in each other, turning any foolish warrior and so-called hero to stone. Then came Perseus. Perseus was a demigod who was tasked to slay Medusa and bring her head to King... Oh man, I'm gonna butcher this up. Asterius. A crisis. A crisis. A crisis. That's what it is. A crisis. It's not a crisis, y'all. Anyways, to this king, who he hopes the king kind of hopes that he will die during his quest because of the whole prophecy thing. Anyways, the Greek gods actually supported Perseus and gifted him divine weapons, with Athena giving him the bronze shield and the bag to carry Medusa's head. Hades gave him the cap of invisibility. Hermes gifted him the winged sandals. And Zeus bestowed upon him a sword. Anyways, using these gifts, he flew to the island and snuck into the Gorgon's lair. While they was asleep, he used a bronze shield to look where the Gorgons are and creep up to Medusa, where Athena helped Perseus to aim and behead her. He quickly put Medusa's head in the bag and escaped by flying off and using the cap of invisibility, as Stheno and Euryale woke up and tried to kill him. Also from Medusa's severed neck sprouted out the winged horse Pegasus, the giant Chrysaor, and many poisonous snakes. After escaping, Perseus used Medusa's head to rescue Princess Andromeda from the sea monster Ceto, and accidentally pressured. Yeah, he put in a lot of pressure. Anyways, he accidentally petrified King Acrisis. He later gifted the head to Athena, where she placed the head onto her Aegis shield or Zeus' shield, depending on the story. And there you have it, the story of Medusa and her sisters as the famous Gorgons of Greek mythology. Which is sad, I know, but the Greeks were all about their tragedy. Popularity. The stories and the fears of the Gorgons, with Medusa as a main figure, has inspired not just the Greeks and Romans, but also inspired the world of modern times. Gorgons have appeared in so many medias and pop cultures, within movies, TV series, cartoons, and anime, games, books, and even in YouTube and other platforms. They were even used to name a certain kind of extinct animal. Well, family, really. But anyways, there's even famous art pieces with a Medusa involved. With movies, you got the classical 1981 Clash of the Titan, with Perseus slaying Medusa, along with the 2010 remake of Clash of the Titans. Man, I forgot to write that down on the board. Man. Anyways, then there's Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, who had the Medusa as the enemy before they beheaded her. The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao had the Medusa as a character. 1972, Perseus, however you pronounce that, features Euryale as a Gorgon instead of Medusa. And you have Celia May, who's a Gorgon-like monster in Pixar's Monster Incorporated. I am so sorry for the mispronunciation. Anyways, with TV series, the show's Tale of the Crypt Keeper, BBC's One Atlantis, Netflix Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, 2018 Charm, Netflix Wednesday, and the 2023 Percy Jackson TV series have their own Gorgons. For cartoons, American Dragon Shake Long Hat Shake fought against the Three Sisters. Medusa is a Gorgon deemed villainess of the Powerpuff Girls. The Gorgon sisters had the Three Sisters in Clash of the Titans. Man, that's another one I forgot to write down. Crap! Calamaria is a Gorgon inspired in the Netflix Cuphead series. Hercules was saved and befriended Medusa in the Disney's Hercules TV series. Not to mention the Marvel villain Gorgon, who's inspired by the Gorgons. And there are other cartoons with the Gorgons too. With anime and manga, you got characters like Ryder, aka Medusa of the Fate series, Medusa from Soul Eater, the Medusa species from Monster Musume. Crap, that's another one I forgot. Man, I am just forgetting a bunch of stuff to write down, am I? Well, then again, I kind of had to rush this. You see, I just wrote all this down an hour ago before I started streaming, so I was very rushing on trying to get it done. Anyways, Soy Ivory of the Ancient Magic's Bride Season 2. Good anime. Look it up. And we even in One Piece with Boa Hancock and her sisters as the Gorgon sisters, who was said to defeat the Gorgon. 4 games. The main game with Gorgons are in D&D as a species that can be either NPCs or players as well. There was a Gorgon sisters that Kratos fought against in the God of War. Immortal Flex Rising had you face off against Medusa as one of the 4 bosses. Kid Icarus got Medusa as a major villain who Pit had to fight within the games. Calamaria is a Gorgon mermaid mixed villain in Cuphead. Medusa appeared as Smite as a hunter character. And the character Dusa is a fun little Gorgon head character in Hades. With books, Dante Alighieri's The Defying Comedy got Medusa and the Furies attacking Dante at the gates of the city of Dis. Medusa, Solving the Mystery of the Gorgons by Stephen R. Welk. Explores the myth of the Gorgons. Stoneblind by Natalie Hayes retells Medusa's life from childhood up to Perseus slaying her. Chota Stanton's Leo and the Gorgon Curse got Leo hunting down a Gorgon while off on an adventure. And A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow follows a friend Iffy and Tavia, with Iffy as a Gorgon and Tavia as a siren. Man, I could use that one on my siren creature of the week. Anyways, YouTube often features Gorgons in videos, like the Medusa from the Chaotic Good Barbarian, which, by the way, me and McKinya have reacted to, so go check us out in the video in the description below whenever I upload this on YouTube. And videos related to mythology and fantasy videos too. The Gorgon was even used by scientists in name of the family Gorgonopsis, an extinct family of carnivorous saber-toothed Therapsis. Oh man, my pronunciation problem. Anyways, time for the conclusion. The story of the Gorgons tells us of terrifying yet pitiful creatures with a heavy curse. With their horrendous appearance and deadly gazes, the story of Perseus slaying Medusa has stretched across the ages and questions what makes a monster. So beware what you see when you're out on the islands around the Mediterranean. You may never know if Stheno Euryale might be out there, waiting to turn you to stone. And that concludes our creature of the week with the Gorgons. So what do you guys think of these creatures? Do you think they're beautiful despite them being kind of ugly? Do you want to be turned into stone and be rock hard? I'm sorry, I had to do that. Do you think that Medusa's story is actually sad and that you think that she's more of a victim? Let me know in the comment section whenever I upload this on YouTube. Ooh, and that concludes our creature of the week. Now then, what's our next creature? What is our next creature? Oh, I think for the first time ever, we're going to go to Germany, as we're going to be talking about one of the ultimate shapeshifters. I hope you guys are excited for this one, because I know I am, especially with gathering up this information for it. So I'm going to have to read into my grimoire, going to have to study up on other books and stuff, may have to check out some official websites that are legit when it comes to their information on mythical creatures. Yeah, it's going to be fun. But for now, though, it's time to go ahead and close this out. So with all that out of the way, thank you guys for coming on this fantastic Creature of the Week stream. I hope y'all had as much fun as I did, as we got to learn about the I tried to say Medusa and Gorgon at the same time, and it just came out McGorgon. Anyways, as we learn about the Gorgons and their petrifying ways. And if you wish to see more of these, check me out on my Twitch page, check me out on Twitter, check me out on my YouTube channel, along with my Game and React channel. and just watch me fumble my words and stuff. And with that, I bid this show adieu. So see you guys. So long. Bye bye. Okay, bye.